Hey everybody, it's Jay and Nick, and we are just back from NOLA Motorsports Park. Now, a lot of people ask us, it's true, they actually do ask us, unlike most things you hear on YouTube, they say, well, we really want a road trip, we want to load up the car, where should we go? Well, there's a lot to consider. I mean, is it a great track? Is it going to be a great paddock party? And is there really anything at all remotely interesting happening in the surrounding area?
Yeah, and when it comes to those interesting things in the surrounding area, no disrespect to some of the other places we go, but this is New Orleans, baby!
And more than a few teams got into the Southern myths and traditions aspect of this, including Amateur Sketch and their Mobile, Alabama tree leprechaun.
Who else seen the leprechaun say yeah?
Eyewitnesses say the leprechaun only comes out at night. If you shine a light in its direction, it suddenly disappears. This amateur sketch resembles what many of you say the leprechaun looks like.
And then you had Scuderia Rougarou, which of course pays homage to the Rougarou. In case you missed the popular History Channel special, The Swamp Beast, the Rougarou is a human body with the head of a wolf that prowls the swamps of Louisiana and eats misbehaving children and/or Catholics who break the rules of Lent.
They're not children or Catholics, but I think the Rougarou also ate the tires off of this Crown Vic. I guess as long as I'm talking about tires too, I should mention Nearly Adequate Racing. They brought a V8 Corvair, and this thing was pretty awesome, but they had illegal tires on the back. And we said, those are illegal tires. And they said, well, what do you want us to do? We can't change tires. And it was so hard to change their tires that they wound up having to use their backup car, a Pinto.
Wait, so why do we need to apologize?
Well, I mean, to be fair to them, we have had exactly the same tire rules since 2007, every year unchanged that everybody has seen. Yeah, we don't owe them.
Anyway, this car did look fantastic and was actually one of 2 65 Corvairs running at this event. Bring more Corvairs, people!
Hell Sweet, Fourth Dimension brought their hat car, their Jeep-bodied Lexus, back to this race again. They blew up yet again, did not finish, but we're just hoping that they're going to have a backup car next time, a Lexus-bodied Jeep.
Now, you don't need to have a Jeep-bodied Lexus to tackle the Lemons Challenge. Sometimes all you need is a stock automatic 2005 Camry X pizza delivery car like this one from Big Rock Candy Mountain Racing.
As you know, we talk about General Motors all the time, usually not in a positive way. It's the butt of a joke, or we're just making sounds.
GM sound of power.
And the point is, it's always, General Motors, this wasn't a good idea. This was a good idea. Yankee Rebs brought a 97 Sunfire and said, we need more power. So they got a 60-degree V6 with like 200 and God knows how many horsepower out of, an Uplander. And that thing moved.
And here's the thing, when you take a Miata or an E30 or whatever, put a more powerful motor in it, the judges are gonna go over your budget with a fine-tooth comb. Do the same to a 97 Sunfire, the judges are just gonna kind of...
Here's an awesome car that we have not seen for a long time, the Ratson Racing 210ZX. This thing is covered with a period body kit. These actually existed. I think they sold one. And it turned your Honeybee into an IMSA GT terror. So they had high competition buying this thing off of Craigslist. That's a lie. It was on Craigslist for 2 years, and they were the first people to call. And they built it into, if not a spectacular IMSA clone, a spectacular looking IMSA clone. And actually, at this point, it's not a terrible car. It's got a KA24, whatever that is.
No shit.
And an S13 front suspension. whatever that is.
No shit.
Normally we don't talk too much about winners, but we do want to give a shout out to Troy Hogan and Tetanus Racing. They took the overall and Class A win after more than a decade of trying. Now, we've given Troy a lot of shit over the years, which he may have deserved, but he also deserved this win. Well done, Troy.
It was all worth it, right?
It's all
Maybe not.
Class B was Swampfoot Racing and their non-turbo Impreza. We're going to talk about that in a bit.
The Class C winner was Team Captain Stephen Hebert, Team Cleverly Hillbillies, and the V12 Mercedes S600. Now, you're probably wondering, how is a V12 Mercedes in Class C? Here's the deal. If you decide to run a 30-year-old German luxury car with 4 ECUs in an endurance race, you might find yourself in one of those famous lemons classing loopholes.
As if that wasn't enough trouble, they had 5 entries in this deal. They had this thing, they had a Dodge Monaco Super Turd, they had an SLK, oh, those always run great, they had an R107 paint covered in boobs for their ladies auxiliary, and the 5th car we're also going to get into later.
So there was an unfortunate incident this weekend where some yokels crashed some of NOLA's go-karts, caused a bunch of damage, and then took off. We eventually determined that the offenders were not Lemons people, we think, but initially some of the track staff thought they were affiliated with Stephen Hebert's team. I think that Stephen and his crew were unfairly typecast here. Got 5 cars, they've got a pretty nice transporter, but it's not like Stephen is some guy carrying around cases of money, walking around in a money suit.
For the Heroic Fix Trophy, I want to start with an honorable mention. Death Wheel Racing, they got this 4.3 swap Mazda truck. They blew up the motor, they had to get the heads off and change the head gaskets, and they did a great redneck resurfacing job in the paddock. I mean, they had this motor back together in like 90 minutes. That was pretty awesome, but they made it look so effortless, it didn't even seem heroic, so they were just an honorable mention.
So the Heroic Fix winner actually goes all the way back to Gingermen last fall when the Mofo Co. had an unfortunate rollover. The car was smashed, their one driver was suspended for a year. It would have been really easy to walk away from Lemons for a bit, but instead, Mofo Co. screwed the car back together. While they were at it, added an excellent Pac-Man theme complete with car decorations, costumes, sound effects. Yes, those speakers did remain on the back of the car for the whole race, and they came back stronger than ever. It was heroic.
Now, for the special award at this race, as you guys probably know, Nick and I used to produce Corvette magazine.
Corvette magazine!
And the key sponsor and advertiser in that magazine was the premier rebuilder of the finest transmission ever installed in Corvettes.
Oh, you must be talking about the Zaharan Fabrik Friedrichshafen 6-speed that was fitted to the original ZR1 and the specialty shop that works on those, Beisbarth und Müller GmbH.
Actually, I'm talking about the Doug Nash 4+3 and the repair shop 4 Speeds by Darrell. Who the hell was Doug Nash and what the hell is a 4+3? Alright, well, so this is model year 84 at this point, and for the Corvette, everybody else in the world has got a 5-speed, right? But does General Motors? No, because they're General Motors. What they had was the old Super T10 Borg-Warner 4-speed and the phone number of some guy named Doug. Doug figured out how to bolt an overdrive onto that old Borg-Warner T10, and they got 4 plus 3 more. 7 speeds. Suck that, Germans.
So, as a result, one of the most prestigious awards in Lemons is the 4 Speeds by Darrell Memorial Highest Finisher with the Doug Nash 4+3 Transmission Trophy. It's so prestigious, in fact, we've only awarded it once. This time.
So this was FSU Racing, a team of students from Florida State. They brought a basically bone stock 84 Corvette, complete with 4+3 and crossfire injection. Now they had all the problems you might expect. They had brake issues, they had running problems, they had electrical issues. They really couldn't make that crossfire injection work at all until they fixed it with duct tape, which is, I think, the factory repair.
The one thing that gave them zero problems at all The Doug Nash 4+3 transmission. You know, maybe they put one over on us and the judges and had that thing rebuilt by 4-Speeds by Daryl before showing up. But in any case, with stiff competition in the category, they went home with the 4-Speeds by Daryl Memorial highest finisher with a Doug Nash 4+3 transmission trophy.
So there's some honorable mentions for I Got Screwed, starting with Breaking Bad and their Toyota Tercel, which has this high-revving modified engine. But not that high revving. That sheared off the flywheel bolts. They then couldn't restart the car to just see what else had broken because no flywheel. So they found new flywheel bolts. They took the entire thing apart, had to rebuild the gearbox while they were at it, put it all back together, and then learned that the engine was blown. Very sad.
Another honorable mention, you had Flaccid Chassis Racing and their 2-car effort. Now, when you're making a 2-car Lemons team, what make do you choose?
BMW, Mazda, Honda, Toyota, Pontiac!
This team has been racing a G6, one of our favorite Lemons cars, by the way, for a few years, and they came to this race with a streak of blowing up the G6's transmission in 3 straight races. You know what? Let's make it 4.
But they also added a new Pontiac Firebird to their stable, and it's got some small block. It's like a 350 with 305 heads, or it's a 305 with 350 manifolds, or it's like one 305 head and one 350. There's a lot of 3s and 5s and 0s. That's all anybody can remember. And they didn't really care, so much so that they have just dubbed this car the world's fastest coffee maker for its ability to boil water in 7.1 seconds.
But the I Got Screwed winner is Team Red Balls.
Red Balls! It gives me wings!
When we see a team like this, which is a group of younger drivers in their second race only in a Saab, we're thinking, oh man, these kids have no idea what they're doing. So we put their modern, turbocharged European sports sedan in Class B. And boy, were we regretting that. For a while. They were dominating Class B, had about a 5-lap lead with 5 laps to go. Well, it turned out to be a 5-lap lead with 6 laps to go, because then this happened. They were passed in the final minutes of the race by the Swampfoot Racing Impreza, which we mentioned earlier, losing Class B in the process. They got screwed.
Organizer's choice went to First Light Search Racing. Now, just because you're a team made up entirely of Coast Guard search and rescue pilots, and just because you're all racing in a Lemons race near the ocean, that doesn't mean that you can just take taxpayer dollars like an unlimited fire hose, steal a bunch of helicopters, have them flying over the racetrack just because it looks cool. I mean, there's just no justification for that kind of...
Judge's choice went to Escape Velocity Racing because of their highly eventful weekend. For starters, they threw a party for their 10th year in racing Lemons, which doubled as a first wedding anniversary for team members Rob and Jen Simpson, who got married at the NOLA race last year. During the race, their venerable Turbo Slant 6 Dart developed a transmission problem, and after doing a bunch of internet research, it was clear that only one man could help them.
That's Torque Flight Patty, right?
Torque Flight Patty. Thing is, they didn't have Torque Flight Patty's phone number, so they had to settle for Uncle Charlie. No disrespect to Uncle Charlie, but he's no Torque Flight Patty. They got back on track, sorta, but that was good enough to win Judge's choice.
The eBay Motors Halloween Meets Gasoline trophy for the best costumes and theme went to LS10. I mean, here they are at Tech. Here they are on Saturday. Here they are hosting the paddock party. What more do you need?
And that brings us to the grand prize, the Index of Effluency, and it goes to Purolator the Urinator and the 75 Mercury Montego, which is the 5th and final entry from the Stephen A. Bear stable.
Now, Judge Sajeev was at this race, and if you know Sajeev, you know he loves nothing more than medium old, inexplicable, gigantic Fords, including Mercury Montegos. His family had one when he was a little kid, and he loves them so much it was even on the cake for his 40th birthday.
So this Lemon's car is Sajeev's family's old car?
No, this is another Montego. This is David Pearson. Back in the 70s, he had this 21 Purolator liveried Montego in NASCAR. Guys, remember, this is just an awesome car.
So they found that old NASCAR in a barn and then prepped it for Lemons?
No. There was a replica of that car that was owned by Sajeev's family.
Oh, and so this is that car?
No, this is a replica of the replica made by some hillbilly in California that Steven saw, bought it online, brought it back east, said, how bad could it be? Put a cage in it, took it Lemons Racing, and finished a solid mid-pack. That is how you IOE.
There you go. Here's Lemons in a nutshell.
Every second you don't subscribe or watch one of these videos, another Vega is sent to the crusher. Won't you help us save Classic?